All right, y'all, today we're going to build an off-market, let me get to the right screen. We're going to build an off-market tired landlord list for Temple, Texas. Spoiler alert, I've already done it. There's over 1,302 properties there. We're going to narrow that down even further, and we're going to underwrite at least one deal live today. So if you want this exact list or the filter I'm going to use, just wherever you're watching this, comment list, and I'll be sure to get that to you. But here's my rule, right? I get asked this several times last week. I was asked this actually. And I don't care what the asking price is. My offer is going to be for what the deal makes sense for me and what that deal needs to be to pay me for that risk, right? And if it won't hit the $200 a month cash flow, I'll write the offer that does, right? And so if it doesn't hit it, then we just move on to the next deal. I'm going to show you how to filter thousands of properties in Temple, Texas, just to a few hundred real sellers in about 10 minutes. So, hey, y'all, my name is Jay Helms. I'm founder of the W2 Capitalists and BRRRRs for Busy Parents. My wife and I, plus hundreds of members in our mom and dads in our community, have used this exact same system to buy 1 to 4 properties a year while still working jobs, raising kids, because let's face it, we have limited resources, both being time and money, and we need a system that works. We don't want to hire a VA team. We don't want to do cold calling ourselves. So this is what I'm going to explain. Here's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to do a quick market view of Temple, Texas, and why it makes sense to target there for BRRRRs. If you're in Temple, Texas, say hello. Drop a note in the comment. Excuse me. I'm going to build the list for you if I were running the campaign for you, which we do. These are actually resources that I'm going to show you can use today to do this yourself. I'm going to show you what our mailers look like. And then finally, if we have time, we're going to underwrite a property that I found a couple in the MLS. By the way, today, my minimum is going to be $200 a month on cash flow. You should set yours based on whatever your marketing criteria determines. So let's get into, let me refresh this screen real quick and get into the market brief for Temple, Texas, and why I like it for a BRRRR standpoint. So population 52,000 in one zip code. So the main zip code there is 76502. Sources, census.gov, cited 82,000 just citywide, right? The growth since 2010, this is highest I've seen when we've been doing these underwritings or off-market campaign videos here, plus 24%. That's massive population growth in since the last census or growth since 2010. What's wrong with me this afternoon? It is Friday, right? So here's also something that was interesting. Days on market, 92 days. I did highlight that as a red or orangish color because it actually should be closer to green, because that's usually a good sign that prices are going to start coming down if you can find something on the MLS. Nearest major, kind of give you an idea of where this sits. It's about 65 miles to the north, kind of a northeast of Austin, right there on 35. Just 30 miles to the west is Hemlane, Texas, which is also known for Fort Hood, which is a huge, major Army outpost with over 40,000 soldiers stationed there. So median home value, $272,000. Median gross rent, $1,500 a month for a 3-2. Now, as always, we're going to test this with a couple of different sources, make sure that is accurate. And then here's why I like it from a BRRRR standpoint. It is older Central Texas, right? Subdivision market, 1960s, 1980s, single family homes, strong owner occupancy, but a solid base for long-time landlords, and some dated properties, which is very important for the BRRRR process. I found it very interesting that some of the stuff we read into, or I read, was talking about how people commute from Temple to Austin, 60 miles one way. It's crazy. Kind of spoiler alert, I already showed you 1,300 plus rental properties that are owned by tired landlords. We're going to get into what that details here in just a minute. Okay. Let me No, we're going to get into that right now. I'm sorry, I was on the wrong screen. Let me zoom out of this so it makes sense to share. Okay. So if we're building an off-market list for you, here's the way I would do it for Temple, Texas. I'm going to clear all this out. We're going to start back from zero. This is PropStream, by the way. I love PropStream. Been using it for years. We're an affiliate with them. So if you want to try it for free, they've got some sort of trial going on, whether it's 7 days completely free or 25,000 leads for free. Just click on the link that you're going to see somewhere around this video showing PropStream for that. But we've been using it for years. So I'm going to use, you can type in your city, you can type in your county, you can narrow it down to zip code. You can even do some, street by street drawing here if you would like to do that. We're not going to do that today, but I'm just going to show you that that's an option, right? But I'm going to clear that off. We're going to start over. And it's going to refresh. Why it's refreshing? Let's try it one more time. Okay. So starting from scratch, we're going to come in. We're going to search for Temple, Texas. And we're going to go directly to filters. Now, this is going to show you every property on the county records, right? And so this number in the orange, it looks like a button to me. This button here is 50,275 properties. That is everything in the county records. We're going to start building our list. We're going to narrow it down to a consumable amount, right, for a married busy parent, which is about 300 to 500 addresses. So the first thing we're going to do, and PropStream makes this real easy, we like to target tired landlords, A, because we already know that it's a rental property. B, PropStream identifies a tired landlord as somebody who's owned the property for 15 years. So there's usually a considerable amount of equity built up into it, meaning this is really huge. They're often open to seller financing conversations. So we're going to choose tired landlords. Then we're going to scroll down here for property details, choose residential, go single family, multifamily 2 to 4. As we're going down and we're building our list, you're going to see this number adjust. It's going to go up or down depending on the criteria that we use. We're going to keep scrolling down here. I'm going to leave bedroom and bath mix empty for now because I'm going to walk you through our base criteria and then start adding on additional ones if we need to get within that 300 to 500 mailer number. So we typically almost always exclude HOAs and almost always exclude pools. Those two things usually add financial elements that affect cash flow, and so we typically just remove them. And that's for the markets that we're in. Other markets, maybe your market, you want to include those because it's a requirement, right, or whatnot that you've decided. Next thing we're going to do is going to go over here to MLS. I'm going to try to stop making that clicking noise in the microphone. Sorry about that. We're going to choose MLS. We're going to go to make sure they're off market. Nothing is more well, it's just an interesting phone call you could get from a listing agent if their property has now been listed, which at times it does. It's rare, but it definitely ties in for an interesting conversation. Why are you contacting my client? Anyway, we're going to scroll down. The last thing that we're going to choose in this base criteria is owner type is individual. Okay. This means that it is think of a traditional phrase, mom and pop. It's not an LLC. It's not an entity of any kind, not a trust. It is 1, 2 people. They're just easier to get a hold of, right? So in those base criteria, we've got 1,302 properties. So we're going to start there. We're going to go back to the filters, and we're going to start putting in some information here. Some more. We're going to add more to our filters. We know, and I don't know this we do know. We're going to go over here back to our market brief. The median home value, $272,000. We're going to shoot for properties that are below that in value. We're going to shoot for maybe 200. See what that does. So that dropped our number down to 740 properties. I'm going to leave it there. So these are single family properties, single family 1 to 4 unit properties that are worth up to 250,000 as PropStream estimates their current value as in today. So we're going to take this. This sounds like a really solid list that we're going to do. We're going to take it and we're going to we're just going to save it first of all. We're going to create a new list. Temple, Texas. Demo. I'm going to save it and then I'm going to show you what we do from there. We're going to go over to my properties and we're going to go find the list that's in alphabetical order that we just saved. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sort the list by address. And you saw me tap it twice, so it does the reverse of instead of 1 through 9, it does properties that don't have a numerical number associated with the address. The reason why that's important is because something's just not right with the data, whether it is whether it's just something wrong with the county record or this piece of property never had a structure on it. So therefore 911 service was not established. And for some reason, it just filtered through as a single family or 2 to 4 unit. Either way, if there's not a number, could have been a clerical error to somebody inputting the data. If there's not a number, a numerical part of the address, there's not much we can do with it. So I removed those. So we're going to go to actions, delete records. Yes, we're just going to confirm. Sorry about the clicking noise. I'm going to work on that. The next thing we do is we slide over on our screen here. Let me zoom in. I just did that clicking noise again. Sorry. As we zoom in on our screen, we see this is the property, the rental property address that we're looking at. Here's the owner information, right? So if we did skip trace, which PropStream offers as a service, as an add-on service, that information would show up here. We don't need that information because we're going to send them some hard mailers. Matter of fact, there's a whole. We're going to send them one of these, right? One of these in the. We got a little campaign going on to. I don't know, Chelsea, Michigan. Chelsea, Michigan is what I'm going to say. Anyway, this is the owner's information. We're going to sort by mailing address. This is the last thing we do before we export this into Excel or into Google Sheets. So we're going to sort down, go all the way down. And what we're looking for are properties that have a mailing address with a PO box. We removed those. I just did that clicking noise again. We removed those from any kind of mail out because we get the most returns from those. So it looks like we've got 724 records left. Looks like there's, oh man, quick math, 40 or so. So I would delete, I'm not going to delete all of them, but just show you similar motion. Delete records, remove, and then we're going to export. We're going to tap, choose all of them, tap on export, and then it's going to take that and it's going to download it here and send it to us. Excuse me. So that's where I start as far as talking about building a list for any market that we look at. Temple, Texas is a target-rich environment. And we would dwindle that down to around probably, we would have, 650, would dwindle it down to probably about 400 to 500 mailers to send out if that were within your budget. We want to leave some in the hopper, so to speak, because undoubtedly some of that data is just going to be wrong. There's going to be some return to senders. And after we send our first batch, we were going to clean it up a little bit, grab some from the original list that we didn't send to yet, and then keep cycling that way. What most of our members see on average is a 2% response rate. Now that is a response from everything from take me off your list. Yeah, and they're actually pretty nice. Take me off of the list. I think it has to do with the way our mailers look and the way they're presented. I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. But that 2% is everything from, hey, I'm interested in talking to you about selling you the property, or take me off your list. So it's about a 2% response rate. But what we've seen is most of our members who send somewhere between 300 and 500 mailers per quarter, they close 1 to 4 properties a year. Okay. So some good, hard, accurate data for you to consider. What was I doing? I think I was going to look up mailers to show you, and I didn't have that pulled up earlier. So let me get that going. Okay, sorry for the delay. Oh, I gotta share my screen. It's like I've never done this before. Here's what the outside of our mailers look like. Now, transparently, I have a machine sitting on the table here with me that prints out or uses an actual pen to write all the addresses on the mailers. But this is what it looks like. We use the brightly colored envelopes because they are attention grabbing. They were trying to move away from looking like a piece of spam altogether, because initially we want your recipient, that tired landlord, to keep the mailer, and then we wanted them to open it, right? We also put a real stamp on every one of them. Real sticker stamp, no pre-sorted first class. No pre-sorted roll-on. It is actual stickers. I've got a batch of like 600 of them right here, if I could get them without making a bunch of noise. But that's what we do, right? So that's what on the outside looks like. It does have your return address, your street, your city, your state, zip, the return address. And then here's what the inside of them looks like. Those are some reviews purposely put there for y'all to consume as we're looking at this. But here's what the inside of our mailers look like. It has your name and address, the potential seller's name and address, and then a very non-salesy sales copy. Just basically says, hey, Mr. Landlord, if you ever think about selling, 123 Main Street, I would love the opportunity to talk to you. We do put a real wet signature on there. It has your cell phone number. We like to include a picture of ourselves, or for whoever we're working with, it's a picture of them in their local market doing something that mostly locals just know about. It increases the authenticity of who you are, and you're not some, like for example, we're targeting Temple, Texas. It would very, very hard for me to make this work, being that we're in Pensacola, Florida. Don't know that there's a whole lot of dynamic or bonding there. So that's what those look like. Let's get into underwriting, right? I think we did. That was way quick today. Yeah. Okay, cool. I did the clicking again. Sorry. All right. As you know, if you've seen this before, we use Deal Check, love Deal Check. We're going to underwrite a couple of properties here that I found, or should I be more transparent, that ChatGPT found fit our criteria in Temple, Texas. We're going to look at a couple of those now. This one looked like it was pretty well done. Beautiful photos, bright, beautiful colors. Last week when we were talking, we noticed some things were virtually staged. This also looks virtually staged. It's a good rendition. I wonder what it looks like in real life. Right there it is. There's the real life picture. So slightly different tone and color. Again, I like how they're providing both pictures. The last one last week did the exact same thing. Mainly what I'm looking for here is, what am I going to have to spend money on, if anything? That's kind of a cool game room, actually. That's a cool idea. Yeah, that's just like one big room off the back of the house or something. That's awesome. Front door walk-in. Kitchen's decent. I forgot to point out, this is within that median price range, $265, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, with the rent being around 1,500, at least initial reports show, it's going to be hard to make this cash flow, right? They've done all the hard work. They've remodeled it beautifully. We're going to look at the data here in just a minute and see if this was somebody's primary home or somebody's trying to flip it. It looks like a flip, just the way everything is so fresh. Not a ding on the wall. 2,200 square feet. It was listed just 7 days ago. What I want to do is skip down here and see if they bought it recently. Okay, so here's where the story starts to unfold. It seems like almost there's something missing between 2012 and 2025. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe somebody's primary house. PropStream should be able to tell us here in just a minute. We'll look at that. But they've been trying to sell this property for over 13 months now. Started at 320 and have just continuously dropped the price. Man, that's a good indicator of why that 92 days on the market was the median. Wow. That's got to hurt from the homeowner. Let's take a look at it in PropStream. Just to back to how you can search and how you can play with PropStream. You can do, city, county, zip code. You can put. I had somebody challenge me the other day. They gave me 75 zip codes. They all fit in. It was pretty cool. Or you can look at a specific address. Sorry, lost my train of thought. So we're going to look at this one and just to see a few details on the the idea. Length of ownership, so 10 years. So it's for somebody's primary house. Not one that showed up in our list of tired landlords. Otherwise, it would have shown right here that it was part of the list, right? Which is good. So it's going to be very difficult to make this work as a rental, but we're going to go through here and do it anyway, just to show you how quick Deal Check is. So Deal Check is another one of those platforms we've been using for years because it makes things so super simple. You saw I just clicked. Let me back up because it was so quick and fast. We're under rentals. Now you can use Deal Check for BRRRRs, flips, wholesales. Notice I've never wholesaled. I don't do wholesaling. Most of the demos I do here are rentals because they are quick and easy. We're going to add the property. We're going to do import data, paste the address, and it's going to start pulling things in from county records and from the listing. So you're going to see some of the pictures that you saw earlier, plus some of the data. 2,200 square feet, built in 1969. Let's go back to this one. One thing I always try to look at on photos when I'm looking for to get a sense of what I might have to do to the property to get it ready. Now this looks immaculate. It's very curious on why it hasn't sold. Wonder if there's something going on that's been found in the home inspection. Who knows? But big four things I'll look at, right? The age of the roof. How does it look? Is there any waviness in the roof? That usually means there's some rotten boards. You can typically tell once you look at enough of them. This one looks pretty solid. But the roof, make sure the electrical panel has been upgraded to circuit breaker. Make sure that the hot water heater, see what age is on the hot water heater. Also see what age is on the HVAC system. Those are the big four things that typically can kill a deal, can kill cash flow. So I just want to know. And if I can find that out through pictures, which I don't see pictures of any of that stuff, they're not normally part of listings, but some folks put them in there. Okay. Let's underwrite. So property value estimates, Deal Check has it at 323, Realtor.com has it at 290. It's crazy. That's interesting. listed now for $265. I don't think we've ever run into this scenario before. $1,900 a month per rent. Told you we're gonna check that on a couple of sources. This being one of them. The other one is going to be Rentometer. Deal Check has its own built-in. It's called Rentcast Estimate. I always like to look at multiple resources to get a couple different data points. The other number that we were talking about, 1,500, that came from working with our friend ChatGPT. So putting the address into Rentometer, 3-bed, 2-bath, we get an average of 1,590. Close this, getting too many tabs open. Rentcast puts it at 1,900. I would probably leave it at 1,500. We'll change that here in just a second. Tax amount, this looks really high. That looks really high for property taxes. It's something I'd want to verify with the county just to make sure that is accurate. And here are all the pictures from the listing plus a little more. Okay, so these are not, that's cool because these are not the virtual stage pictures. Looks really good. Okay, so from here, we're going to go, if it is listed, here's going to be the information from the listing agent. But we're going to do save and customize. I mean, we're not going to put $299. They're already asking $265. I wonder if they did that to try to get multiple bids at once. Let me go through this here. Price down payment, we're going to put 25% down. We're assuming we're using a DSCR. I got quoted on one the other day, 6.75. So that's what we're going to go with here. I joke on Facebook about interest rates, but I do appreciate them coming down. I just do. It doesn't look like anything needs to be rehabbed here. I always just drop $1,000 in here just in case, right? To be a little bit more conservative on those rental income. This is where we're going to change it. We're going to put 1,500. I put operating expenses at 40%. We self-manage. I don't bake in the 10% like some people do just to say, hey, I'm paying me. I'm going to pay myself out of distributions once the property operates like it should, right? So all the base criteria I have in here, let's see what this comes out to be. Not very good. Not very good. So again, we talked about earlier, $200 a month is our target for this property. That to me tells me I'm breaking even. And then cash on cash, I look at least an 8% cash on cash return. Let's see if we can play with the numbers, not manipulate, but play with the numbers to see if we can get this thing to cash flow. Usually that's in one of two areas. One is the income that we can generate off of it. Let's just say that we can generate 1,900. I think it's a stretch. Let's just make that one change and see what happens. Property analysis, not a whole lot. We're still negative on cash flow and negative on cash on cash. Okay. So, like I said earlier, really going to be hard to make this work. Let's say $1,500. And the other place. So what I did there is I just corrected the rental income back to what it really should be. The other place that we can play with the number is the purchase price. Now here's where it's going to get fun, right? And back to my earlier comment with, I even wrote it down. It's so important. Now that, where did it go? I don't care what the asking price is. My offer is what the deal needs to pay me for the risk, right? So Deal check makes this super easy. We come in here, spoiler alert. I didn't mean to show that to you just yet. Cash on cash is cash flow. We're going to say $200 a month. If we've entered everything else correctly, I also use debt coverage ratio at 1.25 because I know that's where I needed to be in order to get a DSCR loan. Okay, so that's in there as well. If everything that we put in here, the taxes seem a little high. Let's go. I wish we could figure out a quicker way to verify that. But if everything else is true, the way we entered it, in order to us to get our $200 a minimum cash flow a month, 8% cash on cash return, and a 1.25 debt coverage ratio, we would have to buy the property at 105. I don't think they're going to go for it. I may or may not use my time to make that offer. But, you know, some properties are not made to be rentals. Some properties are made to be somebody's primary home, and this one looks like it is. It's done very nice. Very nice. Very nicely done. Let's look at this one. This is another one I saw that popped up, and just see what the inside of it looks like. What I'm looking for is a property that is in huge disrepair. This is not it. This is done really well. Again, the days on market is crazy. I wonder what's causing that. If you're in Temple, Texas, I would love to see your comment on that. And are your sellers getting discouraged? You know, started at 245, really hasn't moved much. Sometimes if you're a new investor and you don't know this, sometimes listings will get removed for X number of days. It could be 15, 30, 60, whatever the case is, then get relisted, which appears to be, you know, what happened here, so that the MLS algorithm grabs and says, hey, this is a new opportunity. It really hasn't been on the market for 151 days. It also could mean that they change realtors. A couple different things there. Anyway, this one's going to be very similar. If we were to underwrite it here, it's going to be a ridiculous price. Let's do it real quick just to see what it's going to show. All right. Street address. Choosing that. I'm going to search. House is built in 73. The other one was built in 69. Both of them are going to have a lead paint disclosure. Deal check has it at 211. Realtor has it at 228. It was at 239. Rentcast is about the same. Let's go here. Let's go to see if Redometer will let me do this one more time. Oh, house. Sorry. Yeah, doesn't like it. 151 days. Man, again, maybe the taxes are right. That just seems high for a single family house. What are y'all doing there in Temple? Okay, so we're going to save and customize. Also, the other thing we could do is we could change the interest rate. But let's just face it, they're about where they're going to be for a little bit of time, right? Okay. Everything else should be the same. There's my rehab cost. Again, just throwing $1,000 in there. Something may come up. Very similar to that before. So, and then our offer calculator, we're at 114. A little bit of, oh, that's because I didn't save that. Sometimes you just gotta shoot your shot. Again, I don't know. Depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I may or may not make this offer. But this is another example. This one, the one before. Here's a third one. Looks like it could use some updating. Let's walk through it real quick. See, yeah, it's that green shag carpet. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. This is the one we should have underwritten. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it anyway. The carpet it's pretty gross, whatever that is. Kitchen looks like it's original. That stove is amazing. Was this built in the 50s? We're gonna find out. There's a lot you could do here. Original dishwasher stove. Hey, it probably still works, you know. Probably still works. I'm willing to bet at some point in time they glazed over this tile. So the older houses, especially with the trim of that being blue at the top, I bet this used to be blue tile. We have one here in our house. And they glazed over it, which it looks good initially, but it tends to wear off pretty quickly. The gold carpets, drapes. Okay, so there is a window unit here. Does that mean there is no central HVAC? If so, what is that? Is that for the furnace? Or maybe does it not work properly? It doesn't go all the way back to that room. Yeah, there's some green tile. That is beautiful. Love it. Little sunroom. Okay, so we're going to spend some money here, which is good, right? This is kind of what we want. Let's look at this listing. And 40 days on Zillow. A lot of views. Probably the price range is probably what it's got a lot of views. 3 bedroom, 3 bath. Let's see if it has central HVAC. It does. I bet it's probably original to the house. Want to make sure what that looks like. Tax amount here is 1 second, everybody. I'm doing a live stream here. Please close the doors. Alrighty. Annual tax amount 1,053. Date on the market not too long ago. Okay. It did go contingent a couple of weeks ago. They went and looked at it and said, man, no, I don't know what they said. Property taxes look more in line with what I expect versus the other two. That the other two are interesting. Okay. This one's going to be fun to underwrite. We're going to make some assumptions in about how much it's going to cost us to repair this. Technically, you could go right away if everything's functional and choose it as a rental, right? I'm sorry. We're going to go in the BRRRR section. Add property, import data. Do a search. We saw the other two properties listed for 250, 260. They haven't sold yet, but they were listed, right? So after repair value, we could put there. We know this is not accurate. We know that's not accurate. Maybe that was part of the problem on the other one. Insurance looks a little light. Want to verify that. Okay. We're going to save and customize. Doing a BRRRR is a little bit different. You have a couple different financing options. Let's say we bought it with a hard money loan. We're going to call this hard money loan. We're purchasing off the purchase price because we're working with W2 Cap Capital for our lending needs. We're going to put 10% down. Interest rate is going to be somewhere around 12. It is interest only. We're going to leave the loan term blank because it's not years. It's going to be just a few months. Okay. Purchase cost is probably going to be a little bit higher than that with a hard money loan. Rehab cost. This is where we're going to get into some speculation. We're going to go back to look at some of the pictures. And these are round numbers. So if y'all, I'm not going to say, hey, these are going to be completely accurate. If you want to, sure, beat me up over the, but we're over the, in the comment section. Yeah, make it go viral. It'd be good. All right. So 1,800 square feet. And we're going to assume it's going to be somewhat medium, not too light. I mean, some of this is just very cosmetic, replacing flooring, fresh coat of paint on it. But you've got outdated fixtures. You're going to spend some time in your kitchen. The bathrooms both need to be rehabbed. If we're going to bring it up to get the most market rent we could. So I'm going to say it's going to be somewhere around $60 a square foot for the remodel, right? So we've got 1,800. I'm using a calculator. I'm not doing this through my brain. $60 a square foot, 1,800 square feet. That's $108,000 for rehab. We do recommend cost overrun always. And we're gonna make an assumption that we've got to hold it for 7 months. This is from the time we close it to the time that we are finished with the rehab and we've got a tenant in place ready to refinance. And here's where we put the refinance in. So refinance after repair value, maybe that 108 is a little high. I think that's high. Did I do? Yeah, I did the math right. Okay. So it's a bigger house. Even at $50 a square foot, it's 900. Let's or not 990. Doesn't have to be that nice. We're going to say 70. Because I can make some assumptions here, but you're going to spend a pretty penny in the kitchen. Behind those doors is probably the laundry. And it looks like you could rent it right away if you did something with a carpet. Possibly. Let's continue on. So we made the change to how much we're going to spend on rehab. Now we're going to get into the refinance portion. Interest rate, I wish it was at 4%. Those days are gone. Okay. No PMI. Refinance costs probably. Rental income, I'm going to be conservative here. The other two properties were 1,500. Let's do 1,500. I don't know what that means. Okay. So now let's look at our analysis. It does not look good. Does not look good. We would have to bring more money to the close once we refinance. So that's not what we want to do. All right. I had a knock on the door earlier. I think my wife or one of the kids stuck their head in. I'm going to go see what that was about. Because we are going a little long today. But anyway, hopefully this has been helpful, guys. If y'all, if you are in Temple or wherever you're at, and you want help with an off-market campaign or underwriting these deals, that is something that we do with the W2 Capitalists. We help very busy parents find these off-market deals because, as you can see, things on the MLS, they just don't cash flow. So thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will